All right, well, hello class. Welcome to week 2 of PPSY555. Hope you had a good weekend. Hope your first week went well. Hey, here's something I want to just mention to you, okay? So there was a lot of correspondence, a lot of questions, a lot of, kind of probably freaking out. Books were late and all those different things, okay? So some challenging realities, all right? So I want you to think about something, okay? I want to give you a little bit of context for this class. Let me do it two ways. Okay, the first one is I want you to think about what you experienced, the emotions that you experienced last week. Okay, good, bad, and different doesn't matter. Just think about that. So just pause really quickly, even if you want, hit pause on the video, and just think about emotionally what it was that you experienced along the way of your first week in this class. Okay, just think about that for a second. The ups, the downs, the stress, the anxiety, the concern, the fear, my grade's going to be impacted because I didn't get my books in time, all the different things that you experienced. And I want you to think, maybe you've been here. Maybe you've been in a place of either unemployment or underemployment. You're wondering, where am I going to get the money to pay my bills and so forth. Think about all these realities and all the emotions that come with your experience. And you could think about them psychologically. You could think about them spiritually. You could think about them in lots of different ways. So I didn't do this last week, and I typically do this in the first week of our class. Because students, they tend to ask this question. Professor Boyan, Jeff, okay, help me explain this. Maybe even go to Vicky or to your different program directors at the regional campuses where you may be attending for the MFT program, and you go, tell me why, for a counseling degree, for a psychology degree, licensure, why do I need to take a class in career counseling? And pause for a second again, and maybe you've even asked that question, or you're asking that question right now. So I don't see the connections here. But I want you to see that those connections are real, and in fact, I would argue that they're everywhere. I think these connections are absolutely everywhere. So all the emotions that you may have experienced last week are emotions that are experienced when somebody's going through a challenging working situation. So maybe they're unemployed, like I said. Maybe they're underemployed. Maybe they're employed, but they hate their job, or they think they hate their job. Maybe they're employed, but there's some dynamics at play that make things incredibly challenging, and so they're not sure if they want to stay where they are. Or maybe there's the stress of finding a new job, and it's been, for like myself, I've been at APU for over 12 years, and I've not applied for jobs for a while. Right? Maybe there's those things. Maybe there's all these emotions that you experience. You go, I don't know what I'm doing right now. So why are we taking a class in career counseling? Because I think that let me scratch that. I know that the emotions that we experience psychologically and otherwise, as you have these therapeutic conversations when you're in client sessions, are the same because we're the same people, right? So think about it this way, though. Okay, so what you experience is what people experience in a workplace, or when they're not in a workplace and want to be in a workplace. What you're experiencing can lead to some really challenging realities when it comes to our relationships, okay? So let's think about this. Let's think about this heightened reality of a family, okay? Family comes in. Let's say dad has been working for the past 15 years. He moved his way up through a telecommunications company and has most recently been the vice president of product development, okay? So VP of product development, business development, VP of business development. So he's the VP of sales, basically. Okay, so he's been making significant money, right? Income of $600,000 per year, doing very well. Okay. So mom, she was working when he was in grad school. She had a great job, and again, these are some kind of just generalities. So please don't read anything into this, but this is just kind of some situations that we may experience. Okay, I'm going to give you kind of lowest hanging fruit example. Okay, so he was in business school. She was working. She really enjoyed her job. And think about this. So she was really enjoying her job, and they had this plan. They'd been married for 4.5 years. He was in grad school. She was working for a biotech company. They had plans. They were going to wait for another 2.5 years. They would have married a total of 7 years before they had children. And he still has a full semester of nursing school or of business school left. And he comes home from class one night late, and his wife is super excited and also a bit nervous because she has found out that she is pregnant with their first child. That changes things significantly as far as their plans go. They're both excited, but it changes things. So now they have some very challenging discussions and decision-making processes ahead of them. Okay? So you can kind of imagine these conversations. So what do we do in that situation? Okay, so we're going to try and, be dual income even when we have our first child and so forth. And they try it, right? So he graduates from business school. She has 3 months left of the pregnancy. Just so happens that he graduates in May and the baby's due in August. Okay, so he gets a job starting in September. So he can't be home because he's just started this brand new job, but they know that the wife is going to be home for at least the 12 weeks of maternity leave. And so she has every intention to go back to work. And then she gets home and she holds her baby, as we all have done, I'm sure, at some point if we have children, and she starts to question the decision if she wants to go back to work. Okay. Again, this is a conversation that leads into lots of different realities. You can think about the psychological aspects of things, the conversations, all these different things that weigh on people as they're thinking about these decisions. So she decides she's going to go back to work. Okay. And she goes back to work for 6 months. They have they're both working. They're both making great money. She had been on leave from her employment, so she was able to go back to her workplace. And they do this for a year. Okay, and they have a live-in nanny because they're both making really good money, and so they've got this nanny that lives with them and takes care of their child when they're both at work. And it's actually seeming to work really well. So they still would like to have this new baby, grow up for a little bit longer before they have another child. They're thinking maybe when the new baby turns 3, they'll start trying for another one, so there's a 4-year gap. Okay, so a year passes, and guess what? Husband is driving back from his 2.5-hour commute because of traffic on a Friday afternoon. Wife has been home for a while. She's excited, but she's also nervous, and she tells her husband the news that she is pregnant again. Okay, so this is about 2.5 years, 2 years earlier than they had planned on wanting to have their second kid. Okay, so they go through the motions. She's still working. She's getting really sick. She's not really sure why. They still have their live-in nanny. Turns out she's pregnant with twins. Okay, so she has her 2 babies. This is 8 months later. So now they have 3 children under the age of 2 years old, twins, and a baby that's almost now 2 years old. And so she's now thinking, man, it was really hard going to work when I had 1 baby at home, and now I'm going to have 3 babies at home. I'm not sure if I can go back to work. And the nanny's like, I don't know if I can handle all 3 kids, under the age of 2. And so she ends up they decide together that she's going to stay home with the kids. Well, this means a significant quality of life, kind of how much they're able to spend on certain things, that kind of is altered. There's some changes that go into that, but they're willing to make the sacrifice because she's so excited to stay home, and husband's going to do everything he can to support her. He has a graduate degree, so he starts working and teaching some adjunct classes at a local community college, so financially they're in good shape. He continues to move up rapidly. He's doing really well. She's loving being home. And all of a sudden, fast forward now, and we're looking at 15 years later, and he's the VP of Business Development, and he gets laid off. Well, now they have 3 teenage kids. They have a 16-year-old, just turned 16, and they have 2 14-year-old twin kids. Okay, and all of a sudden, things start to get really challenging. And it turns out that there's still some unresolved angst, frustration, even a bit of underlying anger that the husband and wife hadn't resolved from years back, given some of the challenging discussions and decisions they had to make with this family that they had brought into the world. Turns out that now husband, who's been doing so well, his identity was found in what he did, not in who he was. He goes into a very quick, very deep state of depression. The 16-year-old child had been promised a brand new car when they turned 16, and now dad's out of work and mom hasn't worked for 15 years, and they don't have the money to buy the car, and so the popularity of the child is now going down because they were supposed to be the first child to have a car in their friend group. Well, then their friend got a car 3 weeks after, and so now they're the popular kid, and so there's some angst and anger towards parents because the car was not purchased. And the twins, they're getting in fights with friends at school because they had the cool clothes because they had their dad had a great job. Financially, they're struggling, and so there's this tension that's going on in the family. And think about that conversation. Now, again, this is fictitious, but think about that discussion that could have occurred if you were to be the client or the counselor with these clients and asking the question, what is going on? Think about psychologically the layers of what's being brought into the room, okay, for you to have to unpack. So how does career connect to clinical psychology? I think in every single way, right? If you read well-being so far, you have seen that all of the elements of well-being, the 5 elements, they affect one another, but none in the same way, power, weight, or consistent way as does career. So when career well-being is in the toilet, it brings everything else down in some more severe and significant ways. Career well-being, career development, career counseling is every bit connected to our psychological well-being. And it's an incredibly important topic, and I hope that you're able to see that now. And if you haven't yet seen that, I hope that you'll continue to progress in your seeing that along the way. Okay, so I'm excited about what we have to learn. We're going to continue to dig into more well-being. We've got the career diamond. We'll look at that, and the career diamond it's unique and specific to Anderson and Van de Hee. We'll look at Holland and the person-environment fit, work adjustment theory. We're going to start to unravel and talk about treatment plans and career counseling, and then conceptualizing matching theories. I've had some other articles in there that you may be reading along the way. Okay. You'll look at chapters 2 and 3 from Anderson and Van de Hee. You'll look at chapters 3 and 9 from Liptak, and you will start your vocation and calling reading in the book of choice that you've decided on. Okay. You have a forum discussion. You have a case study number 1 and 2. We didn't have a case study last week. We have 2 this week, and then your second Liptak 321 response is due by the end of this week as well. Okay. So here's a couple things, just some housekeeping. A number of you said, I didn't get my book in time. Remember, I gave you until Wednesday. If you need to get caught up, no one, hear me say this, no one will be deducted any points if you're behind this first few days of the semester, of the term, okay? So I'm giving you till Wednesday at midnight of this week to get caught up on everything, okay? So remember, your initial post due Wednesday in the discussion, your case study and your Liptak 321 response, they're both due as assigned in the syllabus. Okay, you've got some time to get them in, but make sure you look in the syllabus, okay, as far as when they're due, and then you want to make sure that you read things according to when they're due. Okay, so pace yourself. If you know that you have to have a post made in response to the reading, then I would encourage you to read that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, right? So you can post on Wednesday. If you know you have a case study that's due on a certain day, do the reading, make sure that you respond to that on those dates, right? The Liptak, same thing, all right? So be thinking through. I'm very supportive and gracious and generous in this class, and so obviously if there's these deadlines, if there's these markers say you have to get it in, it's because I'm actually looking out for your own good, okay? I don't want to give you all this free time to get caught up because then you're going to get behind on everything, okay? So be working diligently to get caught up by Wednesday of this week. Feel free to always send me emails. I will get back to you as quickly as I possibly can. Hopefully you've seen by now, if you've written me, I respond quickly. If you have additional questions, please write them. Call me. If you're on campus, I'm on East Campus here in the Azusa campus, come by my office. I would love to chat with you. Just know, my intention, my desire, my hope for you is nothing short of your overall success, okay? I will get your papers back and grade it quickly as I can. I'll respond more to your discussions this week. I'll be more engaged. But seriously, I'm here to support you, and I want to see you succeed. I think this is such a vitally important class that you will find to be helpful in your practice, but I bet that you will find to be incredibly helpful in your personal lives as well, especially if you continue to develop your skills and pursue your careers. So have a great week. I look forward to conversation, and I will see you online.